Hi, welcome back to Our Life, the visual novel. I know that typically I was doing Our Life and an episode of Undertale, but I genuinely don't know if I can beat Undyne in Undertale. I know that's so lame, but I genuinely think I'm stuck. So I will do it eventually, but I'm trying not to put pressure on myself to beat the game because I'm just not that much of a gamer. This is much more my speed because all I have to do is read. And even though I can't read, I am trying my best to be able to. So we finished all of the childhood memories, and now we're on to the middle school years ? So let's just jump into it ? August ended. September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but he kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. Sometimes it was like things were exactly the same as when you had first met. But other times, as you got older, you couldn't ignore how the feelings had changed in meaningful ways. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents got finalized. You ever heard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody? At first, you were worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too. For different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He had said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened when his parents, and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed, but you had hoped that you could help him feel better still, since even without the tears, he looked really sad. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore, you were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew for him for more than just being tall? Okay. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Over the years, he began opening up more too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Ah, the trials and tribulations of being a teenager. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. I think it is. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed, in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over, and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. Oh look, you can even see the sunlight going through the window. Oh, that's awesome. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed. I really like early morning. I love waking up, so... You made sure to slather on a generous amount of sunscreen so you didn't get burnt. You were looking in the mirror, studying the clothes you'd thrown on, when your bedroom door opened without warning. In the reflection, you saw Elizabeth raise an eyebrow. Have you been staring at yourself this whole morning? Good morning, Elizabeth. She ignored that, crossing her arms over her chest with a disgruntled expression. Clearly, she hadn't come in just to see you. Your special boy is at the door, like he always is now. She looks so pretty now. I meant to say that before, but I forgot. I love her outfit. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever. You did not like the way she called him your special boy, but you knew by now that saying so wouldn't stop her. So come down already. Okay, fine. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. Now alone, you focused on the mirror once again. Your reflection hardly even fit the frame. You're very tall. Reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. Your reflection fit comfortably. I was pretty tall as a kid. I was pretty tall. It doesn't go over the mirror, but I was super tall as a teen, so... I mean, I'm pretty average now. I stopped growing, so... You could relate to Cove and how it felt being unusually big. He was one of the rare fellow 13-year-olds whose height was a match for your own. I didn't really care. I loved being the tallest. It served you well in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Carelessly as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to today, so this worked in your favor. It was when you spotted your reflection that you realized you were smiling wide. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, going down the stairs 2 steps at a time. Aw, that's so cute! Step 2, second chance. Second chance for what? What did we miss out on? You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hand, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face. Oh, she's so beautiful. Good morning, Jamie. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder. Oh, I do love the purple. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so you were still little in her eyes despite being big for your own age. Yeah, I don't care. You stood by patiently and indulged your Ma's wishes. She gave you 2 small taps on the crown of your head. You're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race. Morning. I was going to stay longer, so you're welcome. Sorry about the wait. What did we get? Life isn't a race? Funny. I don't think that excuse will work if you're late for anyone other than your own mother, though. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Oh, is that an edible arrangement? Okay, we have an edible arrangement now. I don't think I've ever had an edible arrangement. Oh, he's blinking. He looks cute. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to the other. He was holding what must be the much-talked-about gift. Oh, does he like us too? That's adorable. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. Dude, edible arrangements used to be all the rage. Did you not realize? That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. At the sight of you, Cove smiled, but there was some nervousness to it. Hey. You smiled back. You couldn't help thinking to when you first met Cove, and how you became such good friends. Lately, though, you were starting to have different feelings for him. Aww. Hey, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Oh, but the teen boy voice. His grip on the base of the gift tightened and your heartbeat sped up. Even if neither of you had spoken about it, both of you were aware something new was growing in your relationship. It was already shaping up to be another long summer. The best part was that the two of you had plenty of time to spend together and explore what was developing. Aw, that's really cute actually. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. Your hands brushed over his just slightly when you took hold of the base. He flinched enough for you to know with certainty that he noticed it happen. You couldn't help but smirk to yourself. He's so shy. And with that, the gift was accepted. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so anyway. He smiled earnestly. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There were so many options to choose from. You can just genuinely flirt with him. Thank you. To your dad for buying it, and to you for bringing it over. It looks yummy. I'll tell him you said that. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had, though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was sort of funny. It was pretty weird. And kinda handsome to boot. No, he was sort of funny. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the open door onto the neighborhood street. It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek, just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. I'd probably be confused, I guess. Why was he yelling? You hadn't expected to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. Aw, cute. If football jersey's not my thing. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin. Hey, guy and gal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured you'd be at Jamie's place. Did you spend time in your own home, or are you just always there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding the edible arrangement. This? It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made of fruit. Nice. Can I have some? I haven't even tried any yet. It's a gift for my family. I can't give it to you. Maybe you can have some. Maybe you can have some later. Because I don't really want to be like mean and be like, no, you can't. But also, it's not yours. Derek grew more excited by your words bouncing on the balls of his feet. Look how tall Cove is compared to him. He's so small. Awesome. Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh, the new kid was all by himself just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid has green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly, you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove. When you first got here, anyway. It kind of does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. But what'd you say? Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who the person is. Derek grinned. Then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Am I still holding the edible arrangement? Where did I put it? Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuttled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you'd originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expression, he came off angry. You were curious about him and what he was so mad about. Derek must have felt the same as you. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! Oh my gosh, the bowl cut! The bowl cut! The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl craving deeper into his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy still radiated from him. What? What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it? No, I'm Derek. That's Jamie and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so, you know, it's cool to see someone else. Was that what he said or was that what I said? I can't read. Oh, God. I'm just getting all the things mixed up. I forgot that my name is Jamie, so I just saw the J and thought it was Jeremy. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by her response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What? My parents. They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own? Right, my dad brings me to Sunset Bird too when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. My parents' family is nearby and we just had to come see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too? I guess. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. Pfft. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid. Quiet, you shouldn't talk about it. Sorry, I must suck to do. I feel like we should say that, because I don't know what's going on with him, and I feel like it's just easier just to be nice and assume niceness. As if that does anything. You turn to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have had good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed. Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. He does have stupid eyebrows. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. No way. How can you say that when you've got... I'm saying it. I'm sorry. How can you say that when you've got a bowl cut? Yep, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me. I won't have to have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those things, except maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he'd look less dumb with no eyebrows. I'm gonna cross my arms over my chest. I'm pretty intimidating in person. I think. I have a really scary face, so maybe this will prove my point. You were getting really tired of this. Wow, what's wrong with you? Instead of talking of offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice. Wow, what is wrong with you? Wow. This is dumb. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and sulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over, until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What do you mean, kid? Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier comments, the new boy Jeremy wasn't going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Oh, he was. Sorry, I can't read. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do. This sucks. I was hoping we could meet someone fun. Hang out, maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But you know what would really improve this date? My freaking edible arrangement. What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used his hand to point right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. I knew we were still holding it. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini drama that unfolded. You'd gotten used to the weight, but I would have noticed it when I crossed my arms. It's fine. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Let's just eat it. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. Are you sure? You nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. I like melon. The melon was cut to look like a star. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. Tastes pretty nice. And this fruit kebab thing is fun. Hey, you two remember the Land Before Time? That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. I haven't thought about the Land Before Time in forever. Tree stars. Yeah, chopped leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. I love that movie. I've never seen it. I've actually never seen a Land Before Time movie. I just know about it because I'm like that. You should. It's great. I'm really sad, but still great. Plus, it's about dinosaurs. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren, It looked weird when devoid of fruit. We weren't supposed to eat all of it. Oops. Really? You couldn't stop yourself from sighing at the boys. You just wanted to eat some and have a nice time. Now you're probably going to get in trouble. You can only accept it, though. Hey, Jamie. Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. Not the two of your eyes, because we both... Okay. That was pretty cool, you said back at that guy. Oh, thanks. I was just saying what I thought. Derek chimed in well in high spirits. You totally owned him. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least somebody is around to tell him what's what. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. Cool on you. I wish I could say the same. I feel like there's a lot to plan for. And what about you, Cove? Are you ready? Yes. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Hey, Jamie! You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She started closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden bought for us. She leered over you with arms folded. So, where is it? You're late. It's all gone. What do you mean, gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose. Seriously, Jamie? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced over at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you are the most important person in the household to the delivery boy, this was up to his dad. It seemed everybody was in the mood to tease you and Cove today. Within moments, Cove's cheeks flushed red. He picked at the hem of his shirt, suddenly finding it very interesting. He always became nervous when Elizabeth would strike at your relationship. Get over it. Well, this morning's been kind of a disaster. We were hungry? Elizabeth narrowed her eyes. Not at all okay with that kind of response. I'm not fighting you, Elizabeth. It's not happening. Oh no, I think I hear the main kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around. What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit this situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent you a look from over his shoulder. He turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. Nope. Bye! Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. They're so mature. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day! Yeah, for now at least. I still have to face Elizabeth when I go back home. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach, side by side. You definitely want to stay outside a little while longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You had gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. Well, that's okay, it's fair and square. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back, and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. A phone call? Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. While school being out, you're positive she's going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too. But now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. I feel like I have a lot of girlfriends. At least I did as a kid. I just hung out with everybody. I mean, I don't have many friends in general now, but I feel like I just hung out with everyone. Oh, I didn't mean I gravitated more towards girls. I hung out with everybody. Why wasn't there a middle option for you just hang out with your friends? Like, there's no, I hang out with only girls. Anyway. Okay, I take back what I said. I also have a lot of non-girlfriends. What kind of gender someone was didn't seem to make any difference in who you got along with. Exactly. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Who is it? Your worst nightmare. Of course you knew right away who it was. You laughed. She's adorable. Hi, Lee. Dropping the joke, she laughed too. Hi, Jamie. There was static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room. Oh yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which is why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. I think that makes sense, actually. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place, because then you'll lose the phone. We used to have a cordless phone. I mean, geez, it was everywhere. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You jogged up the stairs 2 at a time, smiling. After you arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. My bed is so cool, by the way. I love that. All right, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. As a 13-year-old, yes, absolutely it did. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? But wouldn't I still be using a home phone? My moms would be able to stop us if they wanted. Lee laughed. You didn't put a damper on her imagination. Oh, then you have your own phone too. That works. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not going to get one till I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. School was such a big part of your life right now. I didn't really try in school and I got pretty good. Yeah, I just sort of coast. I've never studied, and I don't really study in college, but I have been studying for chemistry. Oh my gosh, kicking my butt. Anyways, this is not about that. You soaked up information as naturally as a sponge absorbed water. You had yet to worry about school being hard for you. Yeah, I've never really cared about grades. My parents are teachers, but they never really forced me to have straight A's. It was just like, as long as you tried your best, then that's fine. You had a positive record. It wouldn't be worth it to stress over every mark. Yeah, you tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Yeah, everybody in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught things, not just some people. Me too. Oh, I can keep saying more things? It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood, too. Yeah, that's true. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. That's all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. Now, I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about the summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Like, I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. TV or reading. I actually read more in the summer. Like, more physical books. I listen to a lot of audiobooks during school, but I like to hold a physical book in the summer. Let me know if you read anything good, unless it's scary or sad. Sure. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day, you sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Weird. He acted so upset about every small thing. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Hey, who are you to talk? You gave practically all your attention to boys, or maybe just one boy. I see how much you like Cove. That's a special case? Lee laughed at your defensiveness, deeply amused. After a moment, you chuckled along with her. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged at her hip. She nodded. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. With a sigh, yeah. Lee, I have to go now. Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it! With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed, wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed eyebrows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and open sky. You were confused. What had caused that noise? Frowning, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You might as well find the reason behind the disturbance. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. With difficulty, he waved. Then he wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. You hurried over to the window. Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady. Hi, Jamie. What's up, Romeo? I know it's late, but I didn't know what else to do. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean, but that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? I would have done that too. Cove smirked at the agreement. Yeah, I don't do it a lot, but I heard them talking about me. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving you and missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. Is she gonna do that? Yeah. She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before, they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're all going to be together again. The three of us. After all this time? Just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out. And now I feel really bad for feeling this way. Jamie, it's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. We can deal with this. I'm sorry, Cove. You know I'm here for you. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. It is hard to deal with. I 100% agree. Like, it's a weird situation to be in. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. Momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You'd woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden Gibbs, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if that all wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Jamie? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned. Are you okay? Who, me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Aw. Moonlight from outside cast shadows across his face and lit up his eyes. They seemed to sparkle with his smile. Just that one look brightened your mood somewhat. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kind of don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? I've got a flashlight and some cards. Are you in? You waggled your eyebrows, already excited by the prospect. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. The initial friendship had deepened so much over these past years, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. I'll hug him. I'll give him a hug. You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. I love a good hug. I mean, I'm like not a hugger, but there are times when you just need a good hug, you know? Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for quite some time. Why is he opening his mouth? That's weird. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was all too quiet to tell what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first, and both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your pale skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but you couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up a little while longer. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped and spread. He didn't leave. He never left. He was still there in the morning. I'm laughing. He had fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously leaning his head on the side of your mattress. With a laugh, Cove's eyes snapped open and his head slipped from his source of support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right onto the floor with a crack. You clamped a hand over your mouth and looked down at him wide-eyed, curled up where he had landed, rather ungracefully. Ow. I'm sorry. Cove gave you an unappreciative look, but you couldn't help it. That was too funny. Sorry. If either of your moms found out Cove had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Cove blinked at you a couple times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind. Oh my god, I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It's gonna be alright. You just need to leave before anyone notices you're here. If they knew, we would have heard about it already. Cove nodded. His shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Yeah, see you later, Cove. At that, he was suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks. Again. You're a good friend, Jamie. A really good friend. Oh, friend zoned. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder. It made you feel tingly. ASMR. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond, or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, it climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering over Cove's hair, and filling your room with a salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. I wish him luck. Good luck. Don't fall off my roof. You weren't sure if he had heard you or not, but he kept going, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go to try and keep watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped to the ground. You threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. Cove always seemed to have a way of seeming so smooth without even meaning to. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Slippers! I have some cute pink slippers in my house. You knew it was summer, but your slippers were comfy and cozy and made you feel better whenever you wore them. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. Had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything! Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. Your eyes flickered left and right as you sidestepped her and headed towards the kitchen. Jamie? Wouldn't you like to know? I would. That's exactly why I asked. You shrugged noncommittally, determined not to tell her a thing. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she was waiting for something. But ultimately she rolled her eyes and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. Oh, that's so cool. That's that whole spread for breakfast. Oh, that makes me so jealous. I'm a picky eater, but I'll take a little bit of everything, I guess. I can't remember what she said. The past 2 seconds are already gone. It was tasty. You appreciated there was a variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out your front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be so bad to go over his house right now, or to call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Jamie. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or from the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who the woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Oh, is this Cove's mom? Why does she look scary? Oops, I'm sorry, was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? Oh, she's kind of cute now that she took off the sunglasses. You shook your head and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. And that's where I'm gonna end this video. Cliffhanger! But I've been recording for a while and I'm very tired and I want to go eat dinner. So I'm going to eat dinner and then I'll probably record a different game. Or maybe this game. Or whatever I want to do. I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. I hope you have a good day, good week, good life, good year! And goodbye!